Hello and welcome to this edition of Ask the Service Provider. I'm Clem Herod, and today we are here with Becky Campbell. Becky, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me, and good morning and afternoon.
Good morning and afternoon, that's right, because you are in Washington State and here I am in Florida, Tampa, Florida.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So explain to us again what your role is and how you help the CLEMCO.HR network.
Well, I am a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. I'm also a health and wellness coach. It's another one of my hats. And one of my areas of interest, besides work-life balance, is stress reduction. And we all have stress in our lives. We wouldn't be standing upright without stress, right? Our muscles, our bones, we build bone by developing some stress. But it's what we do with it and how we carry it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that because, you know, how we handle with stress, we live with stress every day. And if you think about gravity, put stress on our body, and we have to be strong enough to withstand gravity in order to stand upright.
Exactly. And our bones have to have stress to develop and to keep healthy. To build muscle, we stress them. Right? But then, you know, if you stress them too much, you're going to collapse your body. It's the same thing with our brain. So I like to call it mind fitness instead of stress reduction, right?
I like that. Well, and as someone who works in the live event production industry, there is a lot of stress going on with the lack of work as people deal with the various PPP loans or the EIDL or unemployment, or even getting to a point now where unemployment is beginning to run out or people are having issues with renewing. Today, I wanted to talk on the subject of stress management. And what tips do you have for people who are dealing with this on a consistent basis right now?
And you're right, these are unprecedented times, and your industry in particular, I believe, has been hit particularly hard. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's very accurate, very accurate. You know, we were some of the first people that stopped working because of mass gatherings, and we will be some of the last to go back to work as people begin to develop the proper procedures to ensure safety. And as those procedures are being developed, it just takes time. It takes time. And through that process, there's the stressors involved around figuring out that process, enforcing that process, and then the stressors involved with just a lack of income.
Right. Can I pay my mortgage? What about my insurance? What about my children? A lot of stressors. So the deal with that, with stress, is it populates in our survival part of our brain. So when we're in fight or flight, our body goes into overdrive, right? And we dump all kinds of hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine, into our system. We need it for that emergency. But when we're dealing with long-term stress, those hormones are damaging to our body. So even in the midst of, I don't know if I can pay my mortgage, we need to be able to have tools to check in with our body, help, I'm going to say down-regulate, switch from that part of our brain to stop the cascade of those hormones and get into another part of our brain, which often, and it's more right behind the midbrain, which often that's where we can get into creative thinking then. You know, if we're so steeped in the stress, we can't even think. You know, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm sinking. So just it gives our brain a break. Does that?
Oh, it completely makes sense. The idea behind it. But what are some of the processes to do that? Like, how does one do that? Do you have any techniques to recommend?
I do. I have a few in mind. Do you want to try?
Okay,
So,
sure. I changed locations today. I sat in my more comfy chair hoping, and I even undid my top button,
there you
hoping that we
go.
could kind of relax.
Yeah, yeah, with all that beautiful artwork behind you, it's lovely. So yeah, first it becomes with awareness. We can get so used to living in a stress condition, we're not even aware that that's happening in our body. So I'd like you to think of something, and you can share it or not, that is creating a lot of stress for you in your thoughts right now in your life.
Okay, yeah. I'd say one of the biggest things right now is just a lot was going on in like the Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
movement, and,
Yes.
and and dealing with that and thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and thinking about those ideas in the industry, and thinking about how we can make our industry, when it comes back and people begin working more, how to make it more diverse and equitable and
Right.
inclusive.
Right. So, and that's you bring up a good point, because that is such an important topic, right? And
Hmm.
it can create so much, I know even within myself, so much anger, just sitting in anger, which is not useful, you know, sitting around my house. So being able to get out of that, acknowledge the anger, get out of that space, and get to a creative space of, so how can I be part of the solution?
Correct.
Is there something I can actually do? But let's check in. So I'd like you to sit back. And I'd like you to check in with your body as you think about this situation. Do you have a particular emotion that comes up for you?
Well, do you mind if I close my eyes?
Oh, no, please do close your
Okay.
eyes.
I
Please
want to
do.
close my eyes and not be
Okay,
distracted. You know, as a video projectionist, I'm a very visual person. So I want to shut that part of my brain off, that sense off.
absolutely.
And I
Please,
am aware of that.
absolutely. Please do close your eyes. I was going to ask you to do that. So I want you to tell me, as you think of the Black Lives Matter, everything that has occurred, what emotion in you is most prevalent right now?
I'd say determination.
Determination, okay. And what amount of stress, as you think about this, on your body, anxiety, if I could say that, do you feel?
Yeah, it's just that it's a constant thought, and it's a constant uh, desire to want to be a part of the solution. And so, you know, I feel, say, tension around my temples and around my eyes, um, and the sometimes the inability to turn that off, those thoughts off, to just relax and be in the moment.
Okay, okay, good awareness. So what I'd like you to do right now is really intensify that intentionally. The inability to turn those thoughts off, and the tension that you're feeling, particularly in your head, and the thoughts keep going and it's ever present. And now I'd like you to listen to the furthest sound away from you. Really tune in your ears to the furthest thing you can hear. And now tune in to the closest thing you could hear. Could be something in the room, a machine, could be your heartbeat. Really focus on that very close sound. And now back to the furthest thing you can hear. And now bringing it back to the closest thing you can hear. Good job. So you can open your eyes now and tell me, as you think now of Black Lives Matter and just the whole idea of it, not yet knowing how you're going to be a part of it, how does that feel in your brain right now?
I'd say there's more so a sense of hope. I definitely I feel more relaxed and feel more at peace, even though there's that in the back of my mind, there's that hint of frustration. But in the forefront of my mind, it's thinking about, it's more so thinking about, instead of it being a weight on my shoulders, it's more so thinking about the people that I know that will, it's more so about the people that I know that will help move this initiative forward.
You just shifted your brain chemistry. And you just shifted, I mean, if we were in an MRI, they'd be able to map it. You just shifted from survival part of your brain to thrive and creative. And you shifted your hormonal chemistry in your body. Not to put science to the mystery of it.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah. And that survival part of our brain doesn't go down easy. Not that we want it to go down ever, right? Because those strong emotions can drive us, but we want to pay attention to them and not let them drive our lives. We can get a lot more accomplished out of creativity and peace than out of resentment or jealousy or anger or control. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does make sense. Yeah, because sometimes those frustrations. Yeah, the frustration is the frustration is the passion, part of the passion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need passion to drive you, but the passion may not produce the resolve.
You can still have passion from your creative part of the brain.
Yes. But I feel like, it's just using that to help channel it, maybe.
Right. So can you say more about that? Now that you've done this exercise, and we can do another exercise too. There's lots of different tools.
Yeah. It's just, and so instead of seeing, like, for me, instead of seeing like the various colors of red, orange, and yellow, I more so feel a sense of like blues and greens, of calmness. And so instead of more of a flame, I guess, it's more of like water, and being fluid and trying to use that fluidity to navigate the process.
Yeah.
And I guess, and that's just for me, I'm sure other people won't necessarily see it like that. But even like as people are dealing with financial struggles of not working and frustrations, I'm sure they could use this same exercise to begin to understand where are their frustrations coming from, or where they are, where their next income or source of income can come from.
Right. And it's not about not worrying or not being concerned. And speaking of income, that type of thing, when we go to bed at night and we're, our mind takes over and the committee meetings are going, we need to sleep, we need restoration. And so one of these exercises, like the listening, lots of noise here, isn't there? The listening can interrupt that process. So basically you're literally interrupting neurotransmitters in your brain. It's not, it's going to help your body. You know, the idea of worrying ourselves sick, or then we can get grouchy and we get testy, and everybody has their own way of dealing with it. So
what would be a good way? So, yeah, during this time, people may begin to use substances
yes.
to try to calm their nerves and their anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
With breathing, relaxing, and what tools are out? Are there certain apps or things out there that could help someone to begin to seek other forms of focus or relaxation instead of, say, substances?
There are quite a few apps out there. I use one. There's Breathe, there's Calm, there is Insight Timer. I use one in my business called PQ Reps. It's about brain fitness. So the idea behind brain fitness, and you just did one little exercise, right? The hearing. The idea behind it is that if we develop that muscle in our brain that you just did one rep with, we can approach life's stressors in a more positive way with more hope. You use the word, I feel like I have more hope now.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the idea of developing that muscle. Does that make sense?
It does.
And doing it on a daily basis and maybe throughout the day. So one of the things that's different about what I do, we can meditate in the morning, we can have our spiritual practice, and then we go into our day. And then we get into all those survival modes. And it's about catching those throughout the day and doing a very short 10, 15 second, 1 minute practice to interrupt that. And the more we interrupt that, the more we can shift, literally shift our brain. It's been studied. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So kind of like one of my favorite movies, A Knight's Tale. Have you seen that movie at all? Do you know that one?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay. In A Knight's Tale, it's with Heath Ledger. It was one of his first movies, and it was saying that the theme behind is you can change your stars.
Yeah.
So, you know, what looks like it's fixed and immovable, similar to what you're saying, you know, your brain waves and your thoughts, you can have the power to shift them and be intentional about
absolutely
the decision, the impact that you make.
I like to call it from Star Wars, it's our Jedi. We're getting in touch with our Jedi. I mean, definitely a warrior, you know, but
and archetypes.
Coming from a place of peace and intention and clarity, if that makes sense. Science is now has now realized that we can continue to grow our brains. For years, they thought, yeah, your brain's developed, your thoughts are developed, you're you, that's that. And it's not true.
Yeah.
And it's called neuroplasticity. So what you just did was starting to develop neuroplasticity.
Oh, I'm feeling stronger.
There you go. So, you know, it's like going to the gym. You don't go to the gym once, do some reps, and then you're home free. You got to work at it. And again, my passion in these really challenging times is to help folks, especially with their physical health, you know, because that continual stress can just wear us down. And like you said, we start developing coping mechanisms that might not be good for us long term.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, Becky, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Ask the Service Provider. You have been a valuable resource for not only CLEMCO, but for myself personally. So again, thank you for your time. And anyone who's looking to get in contact with Becky or any of our service providers, please visit www.CLEMCO.HR.com and we will happily connect you. Thank you.